Welcome back to Talking Baseball. We have Chad Crandall, and we're talking MBTI. I'm sorry that everything got cut off. It's storming right now. My power flickered, and feel like I lost all of
No,
the.
wait. Can you just
No,
give one of us a host right now?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll make one of you guys.
it's funny because every time I'm in the middle of something and it cuts out, it's like, man, I think this is a sign from God that I need to shut up.
No, it's a sign from God that fucking I just need to periodically stop the recording and start a new goddamn one because I just lost ever since you took a break and came back, I lost all of that now because I was recording in the progress of recording all of that.
So we're forever rude to Anne.
Uh,
Oh, she left. She was like, guys, I have to leave. You're like, okay, see ya.
Yeah, but we're forever. Whatever's recorded in history is us
Oh.
just being rude and never letting her talk.
oh my God, yeah, this. Oh no, it's established.
It's just like, yeah, I tried my best, but you guys were so into it, and I was actually kind of into it too because I was like, this is interesting, inside extrovert thinking business shit right here.
Yeah, because it's what's very informative because I mean, I'm relatively young and I'm just now entering kind of like adulthood and life in general, and these things like businesses, things to major in, like what I should be focusing on are things that I'm primarily, it's in my conscious life right now. That's things I am focused on as I'm entering like adulthood, and so it's interesting to know information about it from someone who has been in the process for many years, I guess for almost a decade now, right? How old are you? 27?
I'm 28.
28, yeah. So yeah, almost a decade then you've been, I guess, entrepreneurship, would you say?
Right. Yeah. It was a struggle though. From 18 to about 22 was a real ass kicker. And
Oh,
see, I'm
really?
a big fan of getting your ass kicked, physically and figuratively. I think it does a lot of good in both ways. So I'm a big fan of that. And whereas I think a lot of people aren't, they see failure as, I say failure way into success. That's the way that I kind of think. Whereas I think a lot of people are more interested in avoiding failure. I think failure is a great stepping way into success. To me,
Yeah.
the opposite of success is not failure. It's not doing. It's inaction is the opposite of success.
That's a good
So
point, yeah.
The difference is for me, like, I agree with that completely, and I take full accountability in the fact that the only person holding me back is myself. Like, I have a harder time going towards failure. It's like in a theoretical level, sure, I love failure because it makes you get stronger, but like I have a harder time myself, actively going there because
Right.
I'm fine just contently just chilling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chilling is the hardest thing to do for me in my life. I cannot chill for the life of me.
A lot of
Like,
the NT kids resonate.
Yeah, I find myself, if I try to chill like today, I literally have been on this call for 4 hours. The back of my mind is sitting like you're selling your time for nothing. And that's kind of a paranoia that always is in my mind, like you're selling your time and you only have this limited amount, this finite resource. The only way that I've ever been able to rationalize it is that whoever's watching this video may get value, and that little piece of information may change their life, and so it's totally worth it. And so that's the only way that I'm able to rationalize it. So if I can't provide value, and everyone's like, hey, Chad, your value sucks, and you have nothing to say that's worthwhile, it's like, shit, I just sold my time for nothing. I guess I go back to work now. And that's how I am. Like,
Well, I find it
so,
very valuable. I'm
yeah,
glad
and
you're participating and all the
Yeah, I do
conversations we've
too.
had has been very, very informative. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it's I love when someone's discussing a topic that they know a lot about. And I can tell that you have spent a lot of time working on this stuff, not even just MBTI stuff, but business stuff in general. Where you have progressed, you went through all these struggles and stuff, and like you said, you've continuously you failed your way to success to a degree, and you probably still continue to do that and operate on that foundation.
I do.
And it's
Yeah, it's
very
kind of the founding principle to growing. And I'll make this brief, but I'd like to share a little bit of a experience here. When I was 18 years old, I moved away from home in my hometown, Kansas, and I moved to Texas on my own. I lived on my own from 18 since. And so 18 years old, I was pretty independent. I got my job. I was working as a personal trainer at the time at 18. And so I don't know, I was making $16 an hour, $18 an hour per training client, and I was kind of forced into sales. That was the first step. Was like, you're in a position where you can't sell clients and you can't make any money. Otherwise, you're going to get paid what we call floor hours, is working the floor or whatever, and they paid $8 an hour if you did that. So you'd be employed at $8 an hour if you worked the floor, or you could make $16, $22, or $26, depending on how well you did. And per hour. And I said $26 per hour versus $8 per hour. Okay, I'm going to go after the 26. What skills do I need to learn to be able to get the $26 hour mark? So that lasted for about 2 years. I was doing pretty well. I spent money like an idiot. I lavished in my income because I was 18 years old, making a lot of money. And so I was like, I didn't have the maturity to be able to spend money wisely, so I put myself in huge amounts of debt. When and it wasn't even valuable debt, it was bullshit debt. So in 2008, the recession hit, and clients just kind of were like, nope, we're not training anymore, economical crisis, and my business fell apart, my training business. Where all my clients, I lost over 3/4 of it. My income went to shit. I found myself in completely poverty levels. I couldn't pay for jack. I couldn't pay my debt off. I got so much debt that I wound up getting 3 other jobs to try to make ends meet. And I would sleep about an hour to 2 hours per night trying to make this work. I had 2 part-time jobs and 1 full-time job. And so I was like, oh shit, here we go. And I still couldn't pay my bills. I was so far behind, I still couldn't pay everything. I think grand total of these 3 jobs was like, I don't know, $2,000 a month. It was some minuscule amount that I couldn't use to justify the amount of bills. So I destroyed my credit. My credit went to shit. I went down. I think my credit score went down to like 500 because I stopped paying. I couldn't afford anything. I could barely eat. I was struggling. I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to do this. So I got other jobs. I stopped training, and I went into work at fast food. I did everything I could possibly do. And then I saved a little bit of money, not much, to be able to pay for a community college, went to nursing school. And then nursing school was the worst experience of my life because I had to work my 2 jobs to pay for everything still and go to nursing school. And when I was at the pinnacle of nursing school was when I actually hit my all-time low, which was you're in a point where you're sleeping 2 hours a night every single night for 3 months. And the thing is, being an Enneagram 8 and an ENTJ, I don't like people telling me what I can and can't do. And so I was challenged. The nursing school administrators were like, you can't work full-time and go to nursing school. That's not going to happen. And I was like, well, I don't have mommy and daddy to take care of me, so that's exactly what's going to happen. Me with shitty credit, I couldn't pay for a loan. I couldn't get a private loan. I could only get a federal loan, but I was only 19, 20 years old at the time, so I had to get my parents' information. I had no relationship with my parents, and so I was unwilling to do that. So I had to finance my own school. I had to make enough money to pay for school and pay my bills. So at this point, I sacrificed my electricity. I had no electric, I had no hot stove, no hot water. I went 6 months without electricity in my apartment. So my electric bill went up to like, I don't know, $900, and they shut off my electric and whatever. And I was so I was pretty much living in the dark for 6 months, literally living in the dark. Candles, you name it. I made fires. I worked on like building little.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and I did what I could to live, essentially. And I remember I was 100% broke. I just could not do jack shit. And so I had a turning point. Here's where things changed for me. Because I said, okay, I have $1 or $2 or $6 or $12 left over every month. I have $12. So what can I do? So I took my money and I went to this website called Better World Books. And I was able to buy 3 books a month. And they were like $3 a piece, $2 a piece, and these books were like business books or personal development books or whatever. And when I bought these books, I started gaining knowledge. Here's how you get yourself out of a mess. Here's how you get this. And I built up a book collection of over 1,000 books doing this process. And I've read, I don't know, 70% of them. Some of them I didn't like, so I put them up, but some of them I really liked, and so I was really wise about which books I invested in to get knowledge about business. I said, I'm going to work myself out of this. I am not going to fall victim to poor me, I'm going to take responsibility. Yeah. and I'm going to take responsibility for my bullshit. I'm going to take responsibility because I can't blame my parents anymore. That I'm away from them. It's not their fault that I'm here right now, broke, and I blew my money, destroyed my credit. I can't get loans. I can't do shit. It's not their fault. It's my fault. And so I took responsibility. And at that point, that was the turning point of my life. One day when I was because I didn't have a car. I got in a car accident, so I lost my car. I was running everywhere. I'd cinch up a backpack and run. That was my life. I'd run to my 3 jobs and ride the bus to nursing school. And when you miss that bus, you got to wait an hour and a half to catch the next bus. So you miss that first bus, you're not going to your clinicals. You're going to miss the whole clinical. So I had to get up really super early. And I was like, damn, and I was so tired. I'd fall asleep standing up. I was so exhausted. I mean, you're running on 1 to 2 hours of sleep per night, and you don't have the mental capacity to think. You don't have the mental capacity to do anything, yet you're running. You're still running because that's how you travel. So
That's
you don't.
fucking crazy,
That's
man.
insane, dude. That's insane.
But I gotta
Yeah,
say,
so-
even all of this stuff, I mean, in capitalism, you basically exploited your way. You exploited up workers, right? You're the bad capitalist guy, though. Ultimately,
I'm the
right?
greedy son of a bitch that screws everyone over, and everybody deserves a share of the money that I've hard earned. Yes.
Yeah, that really pisses me off because I hear stories like this. My dad, similar thing. I hear stories,
Yeah.
and I just look up to people like you and my dad. And it's just like, you know what? You are inspirational. The fact that you just worked your ass off and you got somewhere. The biggest thing for me is that you don't fall into the victim mentality where you think this is where I am and this is what I can do. Whereas I think a lot of people, they are so focused on what society has done to them that they don't want to get out of it.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
the way I like to see it personally is whatever society has done to me and it has not done, say, is out of my control. I can fix whatever is in my control.
And for me, the biggest issue that I've had is when people play that victim mentality, because I'm like, you don't know what it's like to be thought about, and
Yeah.
that's where my challenge is with these people who do have this victim mentality is like, and especially the people who are slanting liberal and saying, oh, there's just some people that can't do it. I'm like, the American system is designed for somebody who can do it. I was at this point where I could not pay my bills, I could not do anything, I could not survive, and I didn't get any subsidies, I didn't get any unemployment, I didn't get shit. All I got was, oh, I'm sorry, you're not 24, you're going to need your parents' information. And I didn't have a relationship with my parents. My parents didn't support me. They didn't pay me $1. They didn't give me shit.
I have.
And so,
Oh, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
okay, so anyway, like I'm saying is like, I think anybody can get themselves out of it. Now the question is, you have to have a lot of self-awareness. Here's the issue, is am I playing victim, number one? And number two is, if I'm weak in this area, and I'm not Chad, I'm not an ENTJ who knows how to get shit done. I'm an INFP who I struggle with my TE and I'm not sure how the hell to get out of this shit. The thing you have to think is, okay, if this is me, where I'm struggling and I don't know how to get out of this, is you find people who do know how to get out of this shit. It's not impossible, and there's people out there like me who are willing to help people who legitimately want help and need help and require help, but they have to want it, and the help can't be financial. I can't just give the old Chad $10,000 and be like, you know what, I feel sorry for you, go ahead, because he'll blow it on stupid shit just like he did when he was 18, and he blew it on all the stupid shit that he did. You have to teach fundamental skills. And that's where, like I said, when somebody who makes $700,000 a year versus $7 an hour, the difference in skill level, and we talked about this earlier, was there's a difference in skill level. Knowing how to manage money is a big skill. How do you control and manage, invest your money wisely? I invested it in my education. I couldn't pay for college the regular way. I couldn't go to university because I couldn't afford it. So I said, I'm going to buy a $2 book off this website, and I'm going to get them shipped to me. And I bought little books at a time, and I built my own education. I said, I'm going to educate myself. Screw the public education.
Are there any books you would recommend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends on the subject, but yeah, there's a lot of books. I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to tackle at any given time. So if you're trying to tackle, say, growth of wealth, the first thing I would do is target your mindset. And I would recommend Think and Grow Rich, which is a business classic. That's the very first book I'd recommend for your mindset, is Think and Grow Rich.
I'm actually reading that right now.
Say again?
I'm actually reading that right now.
You're reading right now?
What was that? Can you
Yeah.
repeat that?
He's reading Think and Go Rich
Think
right
and Grow
now.
Rich.
Yeah,
Thinking rich right now.
that's the first one I would recommend. It's one that I've read, I don't know, 15, 20 times. It's a book that's really, really, really worth reading a bunch of different times. Every time it's a new insight. It's an important one. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That's a really important one.
Has a Man Thinketh?
Yeah.
I'm writing these down right now, so...
Yeah. I'd also recommend for us NTs or STs, anybody who prefers T, I'd also recommend How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, I've read that. That's a really good book.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's
it
a
helped
new
me
one.
develop my FE, honestly.
Yeah, there's a new one that says How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. It's produced by the Carnegie Foundation. I'd also recommend reading The Psychology of Winning. I'd recommend reading. There's a whole bunch of them I can name off the top of my head.
The thing I like about Myers-Briggs, and this is the sort of the way I see it, is that like each person has their strengths and weaknesses, and
That's about right.
it's like
Yeah, it's-
in your Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what I was saying is like everyone has their different strengths and weaknesses. Like I might not blow my money as much as maybe you did when you were younger. I tend to be more conservative, but I have my own weaknesses, and everyone has their strengths that they can maximize. You maximize your strengths in those hard times. Like I really want to focus on the strengths that I have and maximizing those. Focusing on those things that are valuable to me.
And the truth, and to me, every NF and SF will probably love this that I'm about to say this, but the truth is relationships. That's the key to all success. Is
Yeah.
relationships. Because
I think thinkers know that too. Like they know that.
the only challenge is that for thinkers is that we tend to have a preference for I can get shit done, so I'm going to do it the best way that I can do it, and if they can't do it, I'll do it. Whereas the feeling person typically will go to other people and pull resources in a way that thinkers don't naturally think of. And so this is and to move to a bigger point here is when you get into the mindset that relationships are key, relationships can solve every problem in your life. Let's say that Zachary has a hard time, I don't know, talking with famous people into an actual business. Maybe he knows somebody who knows how to make it successful. Maybe he's met somebody who knows how to make it work. And so that's why I don't like to create enemies. I like to make friends. It's all about who you know. It really, truly is. And it's not about what you know. It's not about competent, how smart you are. It's about none of that shit. It's about relationships. That's why my channel, MBTV, is always talking about this deeper feeling side and harmonious human relationships versus, let me tell you a little bit about rational reasoning. Let me tell you about this. I'm always like, let's talk about intimacy. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about connection. Let's talk about how people are able to connect better. What's the humanistic potential?
Yeah, I think it's like it needs to be contextualized, right? Like there's a place for like policy debate and things like that, and there's a place for building and influencing your connections with other people. It's like human ecology, basically.
So, I don't naturally like anything that divides people. So when I hear things like, Black Lives Matter, or Think and Grow Rich for Blacks, or Black Entertainment Channel, or Women's Advocate Group, I don't like anything that separates people. I don't like it. I do not like segregation in any way. So because it's a double standard. Yeah, it's very frustrating to me because I see every person as a person. I don't see a person based on the color of their skin. I don't see a person based on their gender. A person is a person. And so when you start segregation and you start drawing these lines, like we need to think about black people, or we need to think about Asian rights, or whatever the hell the new fad is. We need to think about transsexuals, or whatever the new fad is. We got to remember at the end of the day, these people are people, and they should be treated like, and thus so, as people. And this is the issue that I have is when you start drawing these lines and saying, okay, let's focus our attention on the blacks more, you're actually creating more racism by doing that.
People don't seem to understand that if you talk about only black people, that is a racist topic,
Yes, it is, and that's to me where it is.
And it avoids the fundamental issues of certain things. Like even if not to skew the topic, because to keep everything on business, but
do we want to make a new video for this? Or keep this?
Zachary, you may want to start breaking these videos up. So
yeah. Let me end this as part one then.